computer. Hi,
Hi,
I'm so excited you're here. I know I call you Silvia, and you're known by Dr. Silviana Falcon. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me today.
I know I am so excited to see you. We've been friends and we've been sort of co-workers at some point, and now we are in the same profession. So it's been, how long do you think?
Probably about 12 years, but who's counting, right? It's been a while.
Is it really that long? Oh my gosh. I mean,
Time flies.
that's pretty amazing. I know when we met, I was looking for consultants and teachers because we were putting together corporate trainings, and you were a referral actually. And I remember that was probably one of your first times teaching. Is that right?
Probably yes. It was. I mean, I was as a hospital administrator, so it seemed to me that my job was ultimately to teach, right, and how to get um, things more efficient and talk to my nurses, talk to the physicians, understand the process, and teach new ways, new innovative ways to make things better for ultimately for the patient. So I saw my job primarily as a teacher, right? As someone who maybe had a little bit different knowledge, wasn't in the middle of taking care of patients. So I had a different perspective and I could come and teach new ways to do our jobs, right? But really officially, I became a teacher with you, really, to actually engage students in a different way and actually delineate goals and curriculum and all of that when I started working with you. So yeah, that's how I began that journey into teaching.
Yes, and I want to talk about that because I know you came from the health administration background. And then when I met you, I really needed you to help me with this client and to teach. And I felt like you were so smart and so, uh, yes, outgoing. And I love when people teach that way because that's kind of like the way I like to teach. And
Mhm.
I mean, I just asked for your CV last week and I look at this and I'm like, holy, since then you've done so much in education. I mean, now you have, and I think you always had your doctorate, if I'm not wrong. Is that
That's
correct?
correct.
Yes. So tell me more about the evolution of your, of going from health administration to teaching and now being such a top professor at Florida Southern.
So, really, I came out of the health. I had been in the healthcare industry since I graduated with my bachelor's degrees. It's been a while. I was
Mhm.
in healthcare for about 20 years. Um, so I needed a transition. I needed a break, a mental health break. And I had worked all my life to be a hospital administrator. And I just felt that there was a need for me and for my own mental health to leave it um, at that point in time and just take a breather and maybe take some pieces in my toolbox that I knew I could do um, while I kind of reconfigured what I was going to do. I recognized that I needed that. I needed a moment to breathe. Healthcare, like many other industries, is a 24/7 um, job. And, I was on call and I had to go into work, and I had nurses and physicians that worked 7 days a week, 24 hours. So I had to go in at all kinds of
Wow.
hours, all kinds of days. And so it took a toll on me. I think it took both emotionally and physically took a toll on me. And thankfully, I was able to stop and recognize that I needed a break. And that's difficult to do,
It is.
especially when you've invested so much time and effort and energy to get to a place, professionally speaking, that you've really wanted to be, right? And so it's almost like a heartbreak.
Yes.
Uh,
Very hard
that
to do.
leaving something that you love to do, the people that you love to do, but recognizing that you can't be you can't continue at that pace. And it wasn't necessarily because I was getting older. I still had a lot of energy to give. It wasn't that. It was just perhaps a little bit of that, but it was just like maybe I became more aware
Ah,
that
of
I was just like frizzling away into things that did matter, but I wasn't going to be able to continue and sustain it for the next, 20, 30 years. Not at the level that I wanted to give. So
right.
I needed a little bit of a break. And I think that's important perhaps for some of your listeners to hear, because it's really difficult to leave something when you're at the top of your game. Um, and being able to be honest with yourself and say, okay, I'm at the top of my game. I'm really engaged, but is this the right thing for me to
For
continue?
me right now.
Right. And so that's really hard to do. But I did it, I felt like I needed to jump, and thankfully I had the support of my husband and many other friends and family members who said, you just need to do this for yourself. And I did. And so I became a consultant, right, where I could just choose my own clients and choose when I wanted to work, and um, being able to spend more time with my children and understand that they were getting older. And there was a time in which very quickly, they were about, I think my oldest was about 16 or
I
something.
remember. Yes.
18. I felt them like leaving me and not being able to spend more time with them, and living their own lives. And I wanted to be a part of that transition
The
into
transition.
college and afterwards. And so that actually worked out for me fairly well. So that's when I came to you, and you gave me the greatest of clients, and I couldn't say no to you, because it was a great opportunity for me to taste what that was like,
Yes.
and understand a little bit more about, did I really like to do this? And actually, honestly, when I think back, I wasn't going to do this for a long time. It was just a moment for me to breathe.
Yes. And I
Um,
remember we talked about it. You said, I'm not
mhm.
sure how long I'm going to be, but I'm happy to do it. And so
Right. I'm
how
gonna give it all I
interesting.
got. Yes.
And I feel like you're always give your 100% to everything that you do. I mean, everything that comes out of your work is high quality. You give yourself, you're all in. And I remember it was a transition time, but you also had a lot of energy and positivity about it. And I think you were so brave and so aware of what you needed in the moment. And I saw the potential. So I am not surprised that right now you just basically, well, earned, I don't know how you say it, earned your tenure? Is that how you
Yes.
say it? Because I feel like you worked so hard for this. Please tell me how you're killing it at Florida Southern College. I mean, if you look, I mean, I wish people could see the CV, because you've had 1,000 awards. You are loved by students, by faculty. Every time we need to do something with the community, you come out with me and we represent as well Latina leaders. So I think, please tell me more about this, because that's a pretty huge accomplishment.
So, tenured, yes. So that was a new term for me too, right? I mean, I've been a student on this side receiving information. I'd never been on the other side of being a professor and understanding what that looked like, until obviously I became a professor. And I learned that there's a journey for professors. They begin obviously with the student in front of them, and providing quality content, and utilizing teaching methods that engage the student, right? Luckily, I work for a university, for a college that infuses a lot of innovation. It challenges us to think differently, to break the mold of lectures. Don't talk at students, engage them into the content, learn from them. There's always something to be learned from anyone around you. And so I began this process, right? So you start teaching, and then you are basically promoted into the next if you're doing well in one area, which is teaching, which is central focus, then you get promoted into this tenure track position. So it's kind of like I move from here to here. Now this is now you're looking into the horizon. It takes about 5 to 6 years to actually
Wow.
become tenure. In those years, yes, it takes a lot of effort. And a lot of professors actually think about it and don't decide to go into tenure track.
It's an investment.
It's a huge
It
investment.
is. It's a lot of work.
And it's a lot of work. And so you have to, it's almost like a little star that you get once you, for not only scholarly work, but also for academic merit. So it's scholarly and academic merit combined to be able to actually generate enough supporting information that says, yes, this professor excels not only in teaching, but also in publications and scholarly work that advance knowledge and also provides excellent service to the college community, to the community as a whole, and potentially to our nation, right, or beyond, or beyond. So through our understanding of new concept and innovation. So it takes a long time, and it takes a concerted effort, right? Time happens no matter what. So you've got to be able to do something, create a pathway, and understand where you are within those 5 years to be able to say, yes, I'm ready to put up my portfolio and let
That's right.
others who are tenured see if this is worthy of such an award or such recognition. So it gets reviewed by other tenured professors.
Okay.
And then it gets reviewed by the board of directors of the college to make sure that there's integrity and that the work rises to that expectation. And then the president approves it, and the board has to approve it, and then you are told that you have it. And I was just called last month, no, actually May, end of May, to let me know that I had received it. So
Yes.
that was huge.
Huge.
Huge. And I think so. People usually say, "So what exactly does that lead to?" Right? So it's like a little star that you get, right?
Yes.
In terms of that you have proven to have been a good professor, a good teacher, a good mentor, a good developer of new knowledge, or question existing knowledge and find new pathways, and being innovative in your research. Yes, all that is good, but I think ultimately the reason why I wanted to seek tenure, aside of all the work, and you never know whether you're going to get it, right? But to me, it was an invitation to be innovative.
Wow.
To kind of push myself to be something I never thought I could be. And so if it was right there and it was an open invitation, I've always been one to say, okay, well, if this is going to be profitable to other people, right? If this is going to bring about good things in others, and I'm being invited to perform at this level,
Right.
then that's the right pathway for me. But ultimately, the reason why a lot of professors seek tenure, and maybe your listeners or viewers do understand this or know this already, is because it allows a professor the ability to remain at the college and not be terminated. In other words, you have a guarantee that your job will not go away. Now, certainly, in my other side of my brain, my business side, I mean, I'm thinking like, who does that in the corporate world? Nobody gets a guarantee of a job. Like that's just like beyond my understanding from the business side. And while indeed that is true, another one of the motivators, I think, for professors who seek tenure is that it protects their right to express themselves
Mm,
in controversial matters that may not be approved by the administration or might
right.
be frowned upon,
Otherwise, right?
right? So it actually ensures this freedom of
Yes,
speech,
that you're heard and you're
which,
seen
which
with
and you
your
can
ideas.
say whatever you want to, right? That
That's right.
you are not uh, afraid, I guess, of saying things that are unpopular, of picking up research that is not necessarily something that the university or the administrators want you to do, but you as an individual see it as a common good for society
Right.
if you do this
Right.
research, or if you stand in this theory that might not be as popular. And I think that advances our society,
That it's true.
our common good, right? Our ability to be innovative as a nation and to look at things in a different way without fear of retribution. So to me, not that I pick up pretty, unpopular or controversial research, but I think to me was another way in which I could support this great nation, and that was to ensure that that is one of the among the many rights we hold as citizens, the freedom of speech, the freedom to say what you believe in or stand by what you believe in, um, is
Priceless.
great, is priceless in this
Yes.
nation, right?
And
And so
I
I that's why I did it. That's why I wanted to be tenured.
I mean, I remember when you started the process and you said what you were about to do, and I said, "Oh my gosh, that sounds like a cliff to climb." But I always felt like you were, like my book says, unstoppable. And it's funny that you mentioned innovation a few times because I did mention that in my book, how being different, creating ideas, new concepts is really what got me a lot of opportunities. I mean, would you say the same thing? I know you also work on the business side. You're a business owner, you own a few companies, which is incredible that you also do that at the same time. You just have this tenure at Florida Southern. So for me, you're very inspiring because you're so busy. You have children, a full family, but you're still creating new ideas, new things that you're putting out there in the world. And I think that's what makes you stand out and that's what makes you move forward, like you said. So, I mean, I know you also wrote a book. And so I feel like, and you keep having publications and other works in progress, I see. So I guess, yes, if you can just talk a little bit more about why that is important, because I think I use that as part of my workshops to tell people how to be different and to be creative and to go with their gut and go with their ideas. And I think you've done that. So yes, if you can please talk a little bit more about that, I would love that.
Sure. So I think, you almost don't know that you're being innovative until somebody tells you that you're doing things differently.
That's interesting.
Right? Because you kind of follow your gut and you just go with it.
Mhm.
And honestly, when I started teaching, I wasn't a full professor. I wasn't even full time. I was an adjunct. When I was working for you, I was an adjunct because I really didn't know what I was going to do. Remember, I said it was just a breathing time. It was a
Yes.
platform for me to like continue to use and engage my brain and continue to give. But I wasn't sure whether I was going to go back to work at a hospital, whether I was going to be a consultant, whether I know I was being pursued by another company to do some Gallup work. And, I just didn't know. And I didn't want to commit yet, put it all out, right? And commit to something that I was going to do. After all, I had to kind of reinvent myself. And so I was, I came in and I was thinking, okay, well, I was told this is what you do, this is a textbook that you use, and this is how, and then you just kind of teach it because you know the stuff, and not only through academic work, but you like live it, and you did it for so many years as an administrator. And said, okay, well, I can do this. And so then I started teaching, and then it was like, I'm just talking at them. Like, this is not working for me. Like, I cannot do this. I cannot speak for an hour. And then you're just looking at me. They're passive members of this. If this is going to be a good relationship, it needs to be, you know, an engagement, an
Yes.
exchange of information. So I just said, okay, well, what's the worst thing that can happen to me? Like, they can fire me, but I'm not really a full-time employee, so they can't fire me. Um, they can not call me, you know, to teach another class, which
Right,
would be fine because I have other, you know, other things that I'm doing. Plus, I'm not
right.
going to be here long. Like, this is going to be just like, you know, maybe a year of my breathing and mental health, and then just like, you know, go back. And so I started innovating in the classroom, and I started doing and I didn't really know. I was just literally trying to figure out, okay, so how can I teach this? How can I teach people to be great managers when they haven't even managed, and some of them haven't even had a job? So how do you teach people who've not experienced this job
That's
to
right.
actually be good at what they do once they graduate, and
Mm-hmm.
actually be great leaders?
Okay.
And so I started innovating and changing things around and really having a lot of fun, and
Okay.
hoping that nobody would even pay attention to what I was doing.
Uh-huh.
So then the next semester, I started having waiting lists of students and receiving emails saying, I've heard from other students that this was a great class. Would you please open up a seat?
Wow.
Okay, well, that's interesting. I've never had that happen, but sure, I'll open up a seat. So then here comes more students. And so then all of a sudden I ran out of seats to give. And
Wow.
I think one of the things that's when I think life has a way to tell you, if you're willing to listen and
Mm.
open up your eyes, that you're in the right pathway. Like, if another professor who was doing the work of lectures, which is fine, that's what's expected, right? And came to see me, they would have said, forget this, you're doing it all wrong. But I didn't ask the person who was doing it already. I was asking my student, is
What
this
they
the
needed.
right way? Is this what
Ah,
you're learning? Because sometimes you get prevented from doing things that you think are right because the other people next to you who've been doing it for so long tell you that's the wrong way to do it.
but I
That's not
think,
what's expected.
don't you think that's being brave? Because I think,
Mhm.
you know, finding ways into making things more interesting, more exciting, like you said, getting feedback. To me, it's just being more aware, like listening to your audience. I always felt like you have such a great way of connecting. I mean, you wrote a book, right, about utilizing games in the classroom. What was the name again of your book? Because I have like 3 copies and they're signed. Can you say the
Well,
title of your book?
oh gosh, it's lectures and play.
Yes,
And so
lectures and play.
basically, yeah, so basically, you know, and that book actually um was started. I didn't even think about writing a book. I really didn't even think that this was innovative pedagogy until a student at the end of class, at the end of the semester, stayed back and said, Dr. Falcon, have you ever considered like teaching other faculty how to teach? And I'm like, what? She said, I mean, I really learned a lot. I
Wow.
was actually looking forward to your class. This was the highlight of my journey here as an undergraduate student. And I
Wow.
actually seen that in my student evaluations, right? Coming back saying this was a great way of engaging and great way of learning. So it gave me that impetus to continue to do what I was doing and breaking the molds, but I really didn't even cross my mind to even write a book until this student mentioned it. And here it goes again. You've got to, there's the feedback, And you've got to be open to that feedback and then take the next step of the harder journey of, do I really want to write a book? Would this be worthwhile to other people? And then I started that journey, and there you go, right?
You told me to write a book, okay?
Right.
You said you need to do this. And I was like,
Right.
are you sure?
Yes. I mean,
It
it's
is
a
hard.
heavy lift. It's hard. But I think you have to be, in order to do things that are um that are rewarding, right? You just don't find those rewards necessarily because you develop that journey for that reward. Sometimes somebody else says, this is something perhaps you need to look at. And oftentimes, before I would listen to that and I would say, well, sure, I can do that, but do I really want to do that? And now I'm more open to, somebody knocks at my door, I understand what it is that they're saying, and then I just go for it. And
I
so
really like that. Because someone is knocking at your door. So opportunities do come. And sometimes they do sound scary, overwhelming. Do I really want to do it? I love that you're saying that.
Yeah, because I could have said,
right.
Gosh, well, this is the nicest thing I've heard from a student. This is great. But she just literally planted that idea in my mind. And I never spoke with a publishing company. I didn't even know what that whole thing entailed until it resonated with me and I started Googling. So how do you do this? What is the process? So how do you sell this idea to a publisher? And what could I lose? Absolutely nothing. Right? Nothing. And so I found a way to do it, and then I started engaging.
And you did it.
And, it's hard. None of this is easy, right? None of it is. But, I never thought in a million years that I'd be a book author. Like, that wasn't even a part of
crazy. Or any of these things I'm sure that you've done since I've met you. And so I think, we work together as Latina leaders. We do things together in the community. I mean, I just love seeing your success. It makes my heart happy. You're one of my role models. You're always such a great mentor for me. And so what would you say to future leaders in terms of, there's always so many opportunities, but we can also ignore those, right? And I feel like a lot of the times I have to be so brave. So what would you tell future leaders to look for in order to continue being unstoppable?
So I think that you have to challenge yourself to not do the same thing over and over. If you find yourself doing the same thing over and over again, you're not growing. You're not challenging yourself. If it's easy, it gets comfortable, and you can say, oh, I can do this job with my eyes closed. And that's true because your experience allows you to do that, right? But if you're saying that, then it's time to start picking up another ball, start understanding what else can I do? How can I invest my time and energy? If this is already something that I've gotten, I can just keep moving this plate and I know exactly how to swing it so that it just keeps going. Right. What else can I do to make this better, to make a new pathway for me? And I think you said something like, which opportunity do I follow and which one do I reject, right? And I would actually challenge all of us to think about is not rejecting. There's a reason why people tell you things, right? Yes. Is not rejecting, is saying, which one of these ideas am I going to prioritize? Right?
Prioritize.
Because the student told me this about writing this book. At the end, I want to say in December. Now, there's no way I could have spent the time, the energy to actually look into that. in the following semester. So I had to put it to give it some thought in the summer,
Okay.
but I wrote it down, right? And so I wouldn't say reject the ideas, but rather sit, write them, prioritize, and then say, okay, these are the two things that I'm going to get done this year. And maybe the others will fall by default, right?
Right.
Or are some other opportunities that I want to pursue at a different timeline. So I think being observant and listening, because you're breaking molds already just through your innovation, through your desire to change things, you're doing it already. Is listening to people who are watching you do these things and giving you ideas.
Wow.
That's where it's out for the next rung. So it's not that you have to continue to be innovative the whole time. There are people around you who are going to give you ideas.
That's
And I think
true.
you need to just keep an open mind
Mm-hmm.
and never say you can't do something, right? You just never know.
You just
And
never know. You are
you
so
just
right.
never know.
Because I never thought I would write a book. And you told me to write a book. And I'm like, should I write a book? And then other people
Right.
are like, start a podcast. Why should I start a podcast? There's 1,000 podcasts. But it all kind of fell into place, just like you said. You just got me thinking.
Right. So I think don't my best advice I think would be to not reject ideas that come to you, but
Mm.
rather listen to them, see if there's a pattern, see if you can maybe um, 2, 3 ideas can come into one, or um, you know, begin with one of those.
Mhm.
What's the, what would be my fear? Okay, get rejected and not publish a book. Okay, it was only the student and I who knew about that. Right? And she was graduating. So
So true.
who's gonna know about that? Nobody is. It was between just myself, the student, and the paper that I wrote it on.
Interesting.
And if I'm gonna get rejected, so be it. It is what it is, and
So
it wasn't meant to be.
not being afraid of taking chances.
Right.
And also there's a timing for everything. I love all of this
Mm-hmm.
because like you said, people tell you. They give you feedback. They see what you're doing, what's around you, what's needed. It's true. I never thought about that, but they do tell you.
You do, if you're listening and observant, you
Right.
do get the good feedback, right? The good and the bad, both things. And so you have to be willing to be humble, and no matter how many accomplishments you've already achieved, there's at least a lot more to do, right? And so I think I think that not being afraid of that, of pursuing something, just that like I didn't go out and tell people I was looking into writing a book. It was something I held on my own because I couldn't even articulate that to anyone else. Like
I
I
love
couldn't
that.
even, right? And so
Uh-huh.
I had to understand it and believe in myself. And
Mhm.
when I gave the pitch to the publisher to say, this is what I think I'm wanting to do. And then I got some really great feedback saying, absolutely, you got to get this done. And I'm like, okay, well, all right. Well, now I'm on to, uh, what is it? Triathlon here, because that's exactly what it feels like when you're writing a book. Um, and and you know you just kind of plunge and do it, like just about everything else that you've done as a leader, right? You just
Mhm.
kind of do it, and
Yes, you do. You keep
you
pushing
just do it,
through.
and then you look back and you say, okay, that was nice. And
Yes,
so
it was worth it. Like that whole
right,
journey, because I see it as a journey. You know what? It was worth it. I wonder what's
right.
next.
Right. So
Right?
there you go, right? You finish this one and then you keep listening to people, and people will tell you, like, this is what I did. Maybe you might want to do it. And so you start learning. And if you just let it pass you, you just passed an opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
right? You've got to write it down, or at least put it in your brain that somebody told you this and just let it echo in there. Don't lose it. Come back to it. Do some research, even if you know nothing about it. Do
Right.
some research, right? Ask Siri, like
Ask
just
Siri.
do something.
You say ask Siri?
Yes, or go to
Hilarious.
AI and
That's
ask
a good idea.
ChatGPT, like, how do I do this? What are the
Yeah.
steps to get this done? And begin that journey,
Mhm.
right? That's one way in which um, you begin to do things that you never thought that you
That you
would.
would do.
It just keeps happening. Like you finish one thing and you're like, oh, oh I finished this one thing. Now, nobody's told me anything else. What else should I do?
What
And then
else
all
is
of a sudden somebody knocks at your door, right? A publisher, about a year ago called me out of the blue, and they were looking for a professor who could write a textbook
wow.
on a particular topic. And I'm like, I don't want to do that topic now. I
Okay.
actually use a textbook I like about this topic, but I don't like this textbook about this other topic
Right.
that I teach. So
Yes.
I said, would you consider
Mm-hmm.
this is a bigger need for me and my students? Would you consider me
This
writing about
other topic.
this other?
Okay.
And then they said, sure, we actually need a book on that topic. And so boom, here it comes, right? Reframed a little bit so that I
That's awesome.
knew um, that it would be engaging for me, and that it would actually be beneficial for the
For the
students.
students. So what is the
So
name? Is that the one that it's in progress right now?
that's right. That's in publishing right now, actually.
Yeah. Oh, really? So it's it about innovation?
It's about innovation, yes. So it's from ideas to
Mhm.
what is it? I mean, it's a work in progress still. What is it? It's an introductory business.
I know I have it here. I know. I was like, what is she doing?
From ideas
It was
to
so
innovation. Or
it's this word. I'm finding it. I'm finding it. In progress. Here. From ideas to impact. Exploring business design thinking.
so
Amazing.
that's one introductory.
That's really
Because
great because I met consultants that all they did was design thinking workshops. So
mhm.
that's just how the business world it's moving. So I am
Well, that's
so
what
proud of you.
employers are looking for, right? For innovators
That's
that
right.
are coming in, looking at ways to improve their brand, improve
Yes.
their products. And
Mhm.
I think that's how I can contribute by giving the students the tools that they need to make other business owners or themselves, right? Productive members of society.
Thank you.
And so there it goes, right? There's coming out. I never thought I'd write a textbook, but here it is, right? And so
Amazing. Another textbook. Well,
another
now it's really a
right,
textbook for college, which is incredible because that could be taught, right? Is that how it works?
right. It could
I
be
mean,
adopted by any school.
you're amazing, Sylvia. I call you Sylvia. No, it's Dr. Falcon
Yeah,
for your
no.
But
So good.
I enjoyed this conversation. I could probably do it for 3 hours because it's just so good. I think we talked about many, many important things, but what I really admire from you is that you've always been such a great leader, a role model for especially women leaders, business owners, and even, I know you won awards because students also love you and the way you teach. And I've learned so much from you. And I just wanted to thank you for spending some time with me. Yes, you're like incredible. And
Well, I hope it serves someone. Maybe I've said something, maybe a little bit of a soundbite that can make a difference in someone's life, right? And ultimately, it is your life. You want to be proud of what you do, but
Mhm,
also I think is what you're doing for others,
mhm.
and how your life has positively impacted the life of another person. Just one more, right? If there's more than one, that would be great. But I think that's how we make a difference. That's how we can maybe look back and say, okay, my life was of value, right? Not
Yes,
physical value, but of value to other people.
and impactful. And you are. So thanks.
Thank you. Well,
Thank
so
you.
much. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Sylvia. It's so
Happy
great.
to speak with anyone else if they need to know anything about how to write a book or how to publish a textbook or anything of the things that I've done, or if somebody has an idea for me to do what to do next, please let me know.
Yes, how can they find you? Do you have a website?
So I do have a website. It's Silviana Falcon.
SylviaFalcon.com?
.com. Yep.
Oh, perfect.
And
There you go.
you can always put out my information if you'd like, my cell phone number or my school
Wow.
email address. I'm happy to speak with anyone, both on how to be helpful to them if they need guidance or if they have any ideas for me to what to do next. I'm all ears.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I will see you soon, Sylvia. Thank you for spending time with me.
Very welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.